Hi, I'm Taiko Kawakami, an ASTRAX General Manager. This time, I talk about the possibility of developing Japanese culture through natto in space. 1. Introduction. I like natto. Natto is a food made from fermented soybeans. Since it is a fermented food, it is good for the body. If I were to choose what my last supper would be, I would choose natto tamago kake gohan, which is natto mixed with a raw egg and a little soy sauce all mixed and served over warm cooked rice. Since natto has not yet been certified as a space food, I wanted to make natto available in space before I go there. Natto is considered one of the symbols of Japanese food culture because it is not often eaten outside of Japan. To discuss natto would be to focus on fermented foods in Japanese food culture. Natto has a strong smell, so it is necessary to be a little creative to eat it in outer space, where people from different cultures gather from all over the world. It is also characterized by its stringiness. These strings are difficult to break even when stretched, so care must be taken when eating natto. 2. History of natto. There are various theories about the origin of natto. The two most popular theories are that natto originated in Japan during the Jomon period, approximately 13,000 to 2,300 years ago, and the Heian period, approximately 940 years ago. In both theories, boiled soybeans were stuffed into straw, which fermented, causing the soybeans to string and give off a unique aroma. It is believed that since the Edo period, about 500 to 300 years ago, it has been a favorite item on the morning table of many households in Japan. Although Japanese people have different likes and dislikes, it is an easy and familiar food that has existed for 3 to 5 centuries, mainly as a breakfast menu. 3. Japanese fermented food culture. First, fermentation and putrefaction are both phenomena in which proteins and carbohydrates are broken down by the action of microorganisms and enzymes. It is said that the only difference between fermentation and putrefaction is whether or not it is useful to humans. There are many fermented foods in the world, but there are so many fermented foods in Japan that it can be said that Japanese food, including miso and soy sauce, is supported by these fermented foods. Natto is also produced by a microorganism called Bacillus natto, which is responsible for the fermentation process. 4. Problems for eating natto in space. In the early 1990s, Japanese astronaut Mamoru Mori applied to eat natto in space, but the application was denied because of two major characteristics: the strong odor and the stringiness. The stringiness of which is likely to affect precision machinery on the spacecraft. Since then, it has not been approved as a space food. Probably, no application has been filed since then. On the other hand, if natto is to be made in space, it is necessary to take a microorganism called Bacillus natto to space. So far, the natto that was allowed to stay and ferment on the International Space Station sold on Earth, so it is still possible to carry the Bacillus natto itself to space. However, Bacillus natto has a very strong reproductive capacity, so strong that it is said that when visiting other fermented food factories in Japan, one should not eat natto for breakfast. This is because the Bacillus subtilis natto is so strong that it interferes with the fermentation process of other yeasts. Furthermore, although it has not been tested yet, it is also believed that it can live in outer space outside a spaceship. 5. Cause of natto stringiness. Natto's stringiness is caused by an amino acid called glutamic acid and a carbohydrate called fractin, which are among the various substances produced when the Bacillus natto breaks down the protein contained in the soybeans. Glutamic acid is a kind of umami ingredient that makes natto tasty and forms fine threads at the same time. And fractin has the function of stabilizing the sticky threads. Natto and sticky threads are inseparable, but if natto is left as it is, the threads become harder to pull. This is because as the natto bacteria increase and become overcrowded, they produce enzymes that break down the glutamic acid, which is also a component of the strings, as nourishment. Just because it is less likely to pull strings does not mean that the number of strings will be reduced to zero. However, using well-aged natto for natto to be taken to space can be one idea to avoid natto strings. 6. Solution. Genki Labo, a Japanese organization, tested what happens when natto is placed on cooked rice and freeze-dried by pouring liquid nitrogen over it and then freeze-drying it for 1 day. The natto portion of the freeze-dried natto rice was not stringy, did not smell too strong, and met the criteria for space food. Both the natto and rice looked white, dry, and tasteless, but when they tried it, contrary to their expectations, they found that it tasted exactly like natto rice. Incidentally, freeze-dried natto rice returned in hot water is not tasty and is not recommended. Thus, freeze-drying is likely to be one solution that can be adopted. Many foods other than natto have already been adopted for space food by freeze-drying and returning them to hot water. In this state, natto will have no smell and will not be stringy, so it is highly possible that natto can be eaten not only in space but also on Earth. As for making natto inside a spacecraft, it is necessary to verify whether other foods and machines will be affected, but the feasibility of making natto outside a spacecraft in space increases at once. Incidentally, Mizcon, a Japanese food manufacturer, has discovered a new natto bacterium and produces and sells natto that has neither the odor nor the stringiness characteristic of natto by fermenting it using a proprietary process. With this product, not only does it not have stringiness, but it also does not cause odor problems, which lowers the hurdle for taking natto into space. And there are several other products, such as Nio wa Natto and Mami no Bun Shiro, that suppress the unique smell of natto, although it does pull strings. Products that have already been developed on the ground in response to consumer demand have lowered the hurdle to making natto available in space. Furthermore, although the International Space Station has strict rules and restrictions set by each country, a commercial spacecraft, especially one that does not even have a cockpit and no switches or equipment on the surface, such as SpaceX's Crew Dragon or Blue Origin's New Shepard, may have no problem with the current string of natto. At least, for stratospheric space travel planned by Space Perspective and Worldview Enterprises, which can go to the stratosphere with a balloon, pulling strings will not be a problem, because the spacecraft will not even be weightless. 7. Conclusion. Natto was once applied for space food and rejected by NASA. So it has not been applied for and has not become space food since then. As time goes by, many things will become possible with newly developed technology. With the current technology, it will be possible to take natto to space. If further development makes it possible to eat natto in space while it is still stringy and emits a unique smell as it does when eaten on the ground, this technology will make it possible to eat foods other than natto that have special characteristics in space as well. ASTRAX will continue to develop and provide food-related services to contribute to the enrichment of life in space. Thank you for your attention. For more details, please read the paper. If you have any questions or any suggestions, please email us. Thank you.